Hello, Circularity. Thank you. We are so excited to be here. It seems like a lifetime ago when I was here in 2019 with Joel and Lauren meeting at Coca-Cola with the host committee, scheming all the great things we were going to do. And then COVID hit and everything changed. And thanks to my colleague Deanna's tweet this morning, I realized that COVID is in some ways the ultimate design constraint. It caused us to rethink everything and to think more efficiently. In a lot of ways, it's a lot of learning that came from it. So things like, turns out you don't have to be in an office 5 days a week to be productive. Turns out you don't have to send salespeople across the country every time you want a contract signed. And for us, we really leaned into the digital opportunity. And it turns out you need a global pandemic to prove the thesis that you can convene meaningfully virtually. Now, that doesn't mean it changes human nature and that we're not going to have places to break bread and have a beer and get to know each other. But it's an incredibly important part of how we enable the communities that are confronting the climate crisis. So before I bring John out here, I want to take it up a level. These are the 4 markets that we see are the critical markets around this space. And think of them as a Venn diagram. There's lots of intersection that happen, and you find yourself maybe in one or more of these spaces. But we have a leading event in each space, we have increasing peer networks in each space, and we have great digital media in each space. And these are all huge areas of disruption and market opportunity. So how do we as GreenBiz accelerate that transition? Really, it's about trust. Change doesn't happen without trust. So how do we increase trust? Well, for us, it starts with this concept of servant leadership, which is the notion that I serve because I'm the leader, and I'm the leader because I serve. It's a pretty profound concept. It's sort of the opposite of the old command and control style. And before we move on, I need to acknowledge somebody who is why we're here at this scale. Is Lauren Phipps somewhere available for me to point out and embarrass? Oh, there she is. So Lauren and I went to the same school. She was the first job. So when she said, I'm going to get my master's, I was deeply saddened, and I'm like, oh my God, how do we replace the irreplaceable? Well, the only way you replace the irreplaceable is having the irreplaceable replace themselves, which she did by finding someone that we already knew. John Smea is somebody who's been part of the GreenBiz Executive Network for years. He was at Steelcase and then Anderson Windows. He has a PhD in chemistry, and he lives and breathes circular economy. So he's only been here a couple of months, but he's really done an amazing job so far. I'm sure you're going to get to know him this week. So please join me in welcoming John Smea to the stage. Sir?
Hello. Wow, I can see everybody. That's a little intimidating. Welcome to Circularity 22. I'm so grateful to be up here and speaking with you all today. For 9 years before this, I sat in your seats out there at these conferences. I came to learn, to network, to get inspired, to critically judge whoever was standing on this stage. And I have to say, it's a little bit strange to be up here instead of down there. But that being said, I do have one piece of housekeeping before we get started. I just want to acknowledge our GreenBiz sidebar over there. As the keynotes, we've got Deanna and John holding it down over there. As the keynotes are going on, if you have questions, comments, you can tweet at GreenBiz and use the hashtag Circularity22. And Deanna will be sure to send snarky replies. So again, I'm just so energized to be back in person for Circularity. This event officially kicked off in Minneapolis, my own backyard, 3 years ago. And I was fortunate enough to be on the host committee for that event. And I think, it was an amazing week for a lot of reasons, but all of us that were there came away feeling like momentum was on our side, that a real sort of movement around this was brewing. Of course, as Eric mentioned, as we all know very well, the world had different plans for us, right? Only 9 months after that, we were scrambling to figure out how to survive, how to operate in a new world. The next 2 Circularity conferences were both virtual. which is interesting. And, you know, those conferences gave us a good opportunity for folks that wouldn't be able to attend in person to participate. That was great. They also showed us how quickly we can pivot from our normal way of doing things to something completely different. And I think that was a great lesson for our transition to the circular economy. So knowing that we're here this week to get that momentum back again in person, I want to talk a little bit about the what, the how, and the why of circularity. First of all, the what seems pretty obvious, right? We must transition our current wasteful linear economy to a just, equitable, circular economy that benefits everyone. As far as the how, that's what we're here for this week, right? Sharing best practices, ideas, successes, and failures in an effort to figure out how we get this off the ground in a fast and efficient way. And I know that this is a big effort. So in that vein, GreenBiz is hoping to add one more tool to the corporate circularity toolbox by launching the GreenBiz Circularity Network. This is going to be a peer-to-peer network for corporate practitioners to share best practices, to learn from each other. It's going to be cross-sectoral, and we're trying to get a bunch of people to join so that we can have really robust conversations around how we move this corporate space from where we are now to where we need to be. I'm going to have the pleasure of leading this network. And I look forward to speaking with many of you about it this week if you're interested. So that brings us to the question for you today. Why? There are countless global whys for shifting to circularity for sure. The ice caps are melting. Folks are poisoned by pollution and chemicals and products. Our landfills are jam-packed with high-value materials, and our soil is being depleted. I get all of those global whys, and I'm sure you do too. The specific question I'm asking you today, though, is why you're here. What drives your work in this space? Why are you here with us instead of, I don't know, writing code or selling insurance? Think about that a little bit during the keynotes today and try to distill it down to 5 words or less. It's difficult, but I think you can do it. On your way out today, I invite you to share your why with the person sitting next to you. Text it to your family and friends. Share it with your Twitter followers. Please use our hashtag. Share it with your therapist if you're lucky enough to have one. I'm also asking you to enter your response in the conference app so that I can read them all later and hopefully tell your stories in a future story. Hell, tattoo your why on your arm if you have to. That's what I did. My why boils down to 4 words. For my daughter's future. My tattoo is not so concise, it's got a lot more words in it, but the message is in there for me. Let's all take our whys with us throughout this week, our own personal whys, our organization's whys, and those global whys we talked about, and let them guide our participation here at Circularity. So as we hopefully emerge from this awful pandemic, or at least figure out how to live with it, I'm still optimistic. After all, a certain level of optimism is sort of required in this space unless you want to live in constant pain and suffering. So I'll leave you with a few key reasons why I'm optimistic today. Reason number 1, this community, this room full of people is so talented from such a diverse set of backgrounds and companies, from students and analysts just getting started in this space to founders, CEOs, CSOs, all the other C-suiters. I am so grateful to have you all here. The fact that you've devoted your time, your energy, and your careers to this space is so inspiring, and it gives me hope every day. Reason number 2, we are starting to see progress. You'll hear a lot more about that progress over the next couple days. It's truly inspiring what people all over the world are doing in both formal and informal ways to just nudge us ever so slightly towards that circular future that we're all looking for. And reason number 3, in moments of scarcity and crisis, does that sound familiar to anybody? That is when innovation, collaboration, and creative thinking are most critical. Everyone here realizes we can't duck into our shells right now and go into survival mode. We have to work harder than ever to make sure that the recovery from this pandemic is both sustainable and circular.